morning, boys and girls. Today we're going to be talking about three-dimensional figures. That's going to be section 11.5 on your Go Math book. We are skipping 11.4. We don't need to have those standards learned for our 5th grade. So we're going straight to 11.5. So now I'm going to set up the camera so that you can see the board, okay? All right, so I want to start by showing you this picture of a building in Arizona. Let's see if you can see it right there. Look at it carefully. I'm moving it around and I apologize for that. But it is called the Biosphere 2 and it is in Arizona, and if you look at it, it is a research center really where they learn and teach about the earth. But if you look at it, it is a solid figure, and I would guess it is about what we are going to call a rectangular prism, and I'm going to show you in a second or tell you what a rectangular prism it is. So keep in mind that picture. Also going to ask you to remember your objectives for today, okay? Today I want you to learn how to identify, describe, and classify three-dimensional figures. Now, before we go on that, I'll ask you something. Which is correct name for a polygon with 5 sides and 5 angles? Here I have a polygon of 5 sides. If you look at it just up top, not the bottom, if you just look at the top, it's just a polygon of 5 sides and 5 angles. You remember the name for that? Well, the name for that is a pentagon, okay? Now, in this case, we are talking about three-dimensional figures, so it is going to be a whole big figure that encompasses width, and I don't know if you could see that green part down here, width, length, and height. And that is why that's why we say it's three-dimensional, because you got to take into account the width, you got to take into account the length, and you have to take into account the height. Now, back to the prism I just showed you. What makes something a polyhedron and not only a polygon? Well, a polygon is just one dimension, while a solid figure that has 3 dimensions, like I just told you, length, width, and height, is called a polyhedron, okay? A prism, also, we have the word prism right here, and it is a polyhedron that has 2 congruent polygons as the bases. So I want you to look at this again. In this polygon, the base is a pentagon. You see that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It is a pentagon, okay? The 2 bases. And that is called a prism. Now, if it only has 1 base, like this one here, do you see that, what I'm pointing at? That would not be a prism, that would be a pyramid. Because a pyramid is a polyhedron with 1 base. Do you see the base of this pyramid? It is a triangle, and it's only 1. And then it goes in the top like a pyramid. All right, 1 base only, and it's called a pyramid. But if you have 2 bases like you have in here, top and bottom, it is called a prism. And we call this one a pentagonal prism because the bases are shaped with 5 sides. They are a pentagon. When you look at a prism, you're going to have the base, you're going to have vertex. See the points that connect everything? Just your vertex. You're going to have the edge. You see that little red line here? That's your edge. And all around the polyhedron, you're going to have what are called faces. And this blue part is the face. okay? So you see the face, you see the edges, you see the vertex, and you see the faces, okay? In this case, the faces are pentagons, therefore it is a pentagonal prism. Now, what do you think is going to be called if you have, like in here, look at this example I'm pointing to, a prism where the bases are rectangle. If the base is a rectangle, it's going to be called rectangular prism, okay? We also have, believe it or not, that are not pyramids, certain prisms that are called triangular prism. And that's because the two bases, top and front, are going to be a triangle. And I'm going to draw one here, so if I can, because you know. So in this one, my faces are going to be rectangles. No, it's not working. I'm not very good at drawing this. Sorry. Nope, forget about my drawing. Not doing well. Okay, but you can have one that has a triangle as your basis, and it's going to be called a triangular prism. And this, remember, is a rectangular prism, okay? This is not a prism, this is a pyramid. One base only, okay? Now, we also have certain shapes that are not polyhedrons, but we think they might be because they're three-dimensional. In this case, I'm going to take, because our title says three-dimensional figures, it includes polyhedrons and non-polyhedrons, okay? So we're doing both, okay? These are the polyhedrons, the prisms and the pyramids, and the non-polyhedrons are going to be, look at the red here, are going to be cones, cylinders, and spheres. We know what a sphere looks like. They have circular bases. The cone has a circular base and it's like a pyramid, but it is not a polyhedron. A cylinder, it's gonna look like this, right? With two circular bases. And remember, circles are not polygons, therefore that's not gonna be a polyhedron. It is a cylinder is a non-polyhedron. Spheres, cylinders, and cones. Okay, so three-dimensional figures we just talked about include polyhedrons and non-polyhedrons. In the category of polyhedrons, you have prisms and pyramids. In the category of non-polyhedrons, you have cones, cylinders, and spheres. Okay, the prisms could be anything that have two bases, okay, and the pyramids are going to be any object that has only one base and it meets at the top, okay? In this case, you have a pyramid with a triangle base. In this case, you have a prism with a pentagonal base, a pentagon as a base, top and bottom. All right? So with that in mind, you can now go to your 11.5 standard practice and see how you can handle that. All right, talk to you next time.